All right, everyone. Welcome to the Diversified Gentlemen. We're here today with a special guest, Chad. How you doing, bro?
Pretty good. How are you doing?
Good, man. Thank you for joining us. So, all right. So, as a Jiu-Jitsu black belt and an MMA gym owner, we wanted to get your take on the Conor McGregor fight.
Nah.
Yeah.
Yo, somebody made a ton of money last night. That's all I gotta say about that. Yeah, man. I'm not a Conor fan per se, but you can't deny his greatness, right? So, he's been crushing everybody. He had already beat Dustin Poirier. So I was talking to my friends just before the fight. So I was like, man, I'd be surprised. It would be a win. It would have been a win for me to see Dustin Poirier make it out of the second round. And so to see that he got the knockout in the second round, I was blown, man. Between that and then the fight before, the Michael Chandler fight, I think Michael Chandler was like a 100-point underdog, against Hooker, and then he got the knockout too. So yeah, so somebody made a lot of money last night.
It was some sleepy time on there last night, boy.
Yeah,
it's humbling. Once you step in that ring, man, anything can happen. That's why you got to take that so serious. And you know that Nate Robinson and all those memes, like basketball players and athletes were saying, MMA, boxing, that stuff is, you don't play that. You have to do it. You have to
yeah.
Yeah.
You play basketball, you play football. So I don't think the everyday person doesn't understand that. You got to embody.
Yeah, and anybody has a puncher's chance in there. I think last night, Poirier, his strategy won out over between the two of their talent. Like McGregor was much faster than Poirier the whole fight. And if he hadn't got knocked out, he still would have won that round. But Poirier's strategy with the leg kicks and getting in there to get the heavy shots when they were available, it just won out on him that night. Who knows if it can happen again, but last night, that was his night.
Yeah. Do you think McGregor has evolved? Because his striking is top tier, but do you think he's involved in other aspects, like his ground game, his takedowns, his strikes, his leg kicks?
It's hard to tell because he's so great in his striking and his movement on his feet. The disparity between his striking and his grappling is going to be immense because, striking, if you already have the speed, the proclivity, the talent to make those movements in striking, it's easier to pick that up than it is to pick up the instincts with grappling.
Yeah. So,
if he's been striking, I don't know how many years he was training before he got to the UFC, we'll say at least 10 or 15 years of just striking, it's going to take just that much time to get towards that same level in grappling. So anybody who he fights at that level, that championship contender caliber, whose strength is grappling, they're always going to make him look bad in grappling. So he's always got, his strategy has always got to be to stay out of that. So he has gotten better in avoiding the takedowns and getting back up. You can see that. But he ain't ever going to win a grappling match against a top tier fighter no time soon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it is quick. I mean, granted, I'm not an expert at all, but I think it is quicker to pick up boxing than freaking jiu-jitsu, man. That stuff. They broke down. I think Joe Rogan broke down Khabib, how he basically literally everything he does is setting you up. He's playing chess. He does things to get a reaction, to set you up for this, to set you up for that, to set you up for the submission. Like, he's 5 steps ahead. He knows you're going to do this to turn her up or protect this. So he's going to grab that. It's going to make you react to this. And then boom, from there, that's what he wanted the whole time. Like, it's just crazy. Yeah.
That's what you find with jiu-jitsu, though. Those guys that can think past that next move to what you might do, how I'm going to react to, those are the best ones. And you guys do jiu-jitsu. You can tell those guys that know the basic moves. Okay, you can do that. But when you're saying, I'm going to move my body here, if he does this, I'm going to go here. That's that level separation. And that's something you teach in your gym. Like, you tell them that the progressions of if they do this, how to move, or that's that natural thing.
So, some people some people are naturals, especially you know when you teach the kids. You
Yeah.
see some kids more often. The funny thing is, more often it's the girls over the boys that are naturals and picking up the movement. But overall, by the time you're an adult, it's just a matter of repetitions, which is why we have a high attrition rate between, you know, when a guy comes in and they think they're gonna, you know, be a world beater and you know be a black belt in 3 years or whatever that you can do a taekwondo. But you've got to have those repetitions, because it's not like I can tell you that, all right, if I pressure this side of the person, they have two options to move here or there. I can tell you and I can teach you what to do when they move here or there, but you've got to feel that and you've got to experience it. And you've got to experience, you know, somebody might hit those options hard, somebody might hit those options soft. And so, you know, you experience it and you have, you know, how 10,000 rolls and you've experienced that movement pattern so many times. It's like once you're there, it's not even a thought process. You just know, you feel them, you know, kind of like, you know, a good basketball player, the same thing, you know, you see them jab step in one direction and you know where they're going to go next. It's the same thing. It takes, you know, just takes tons of repetition. And a lot of times those repetitions are going to end in failure. And if you're not good at taking that failure and learning from it, those are the people that end up quitting, you know, after 18 months, 2 years.
Yeah, because you know, at 6 at 6 months in, you got white belt with one stripe, and you're like, what's the deal? Like, I all these colored belts, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You know, you feel like you're being patronized because the coach is like, no, you're doing good, just stay on it.
Right.
So, hell's my belt at? You know what I'm saying?
You gotta earn them belts by tapping out, man. You can take like 10,000 tap outs to get a black belt.
Yeah.
If you had a good gym, you'll get humbled because you know you may go up against someone, a white belt that's got 4 stripes, and you're like, and you get destroyed, and you're like, okay, if this guy ain't a blue belt, okay, I got it. Or you may get that purple belt, and they're so technical, and you just realize, man, I got a long ways to go. And I think that's just the beautiful thing about martial arts, where man, I've been embarrassed by, like, you know, literally like 5'2", 140-pound Army lieutenant colonel. And you know what I mean? I've been embarrassed by, you know, someone my size will weigh 80 pounds with a big gut, but he just understood. He knew that a good grip, I'm just gonna fight it off till I'm tired, and then when he feels me slowly, boom, now he's like, oh my goodness, you know what I mean? Man, you know, it's mental. It's mental, it's skilled, and it's one of those disciplines where it's not necessarily the strongest man or the quickest man or the youngest man wins. It's the most skilled and smartest man wins. You know?
Hey, Chad, let me, and before we end the McGregor conversation, in your professional opinion, you think McGregor's done?
No, not at all. Not at all. So my partner Paul, partner at the gym, he calls me a casual fan because I don't keep track of stats or anything like that. My thing is, you know, how does a person fight out of diversity? You know, what are they putting in that other side of the sport? And so one thing you can see with I was going to call him LeBron McGregor, but he has the same personality type as LeBron, as Kobe, as Mayweather. Like these guys, McGregor could lose 5 fights in a row, and he's still the best fighter in the world in his head.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can do to take that away from him. So as long as he has the itch to fight, as long as there's somebody who's saying they're better than him out there, he's going to want to fight. Now, the question is, you know, he's got a ton of money now. So,
Right.
so the question is going to be, at what point does somebody convince him that it's not worth it for him to fight anymore? You know, right now he's still young. He's in his 30s. He's still quick. I mean, he's still learning. So there's no need for him. That was his first knockout. His first knockout in the UFC, if I remember correctly.
He got a mission on him, right?
Yeah, he lost by Nate Diaz submission.
Did Khabib come out?
Khabib was a submission. So this was his first knockout in the UFC. So, you know, unless he's out there sparring crazy and hard in practice, his brain should be fine. So he's still got plenty of years. He'll be right back there fighting for the title shot by this time next year, if not sooner.
Yeah, that's a good point because it was so disappointing when Ronda Rousey, when she went out, man, she was done. She was like, I don't remember. Martin was like, I don't want to fight no more. That's like overnight, like you were dominating, and then the women started getting better in a 12-month period, and they were just as good as you, if not better. And you were like, I'm done. I'm too young. I haven't lived life.
Yeah. I think she peaked out, man. I think she kind of peaked out.
What the thing is, the competition caught up to her.
Yeah. Well, the thing with Ronda Rousey was that, you know, you can't take anything away. Like, she's a great fighter. In her time, she was a great emissary for the sport. That's the right word. Judo champion. But she, even at that time, she was not the best woman fighter in the world. She was the most marketable woman fighter in the world.
Right.
She had the Olympic gold medals. She's good looking. She's throwing these girls around. So they were feeding her cans up until the point where she got knocked out by Holly Holmes. Yeah. And then she knew she wasn't going to get it back, because even behind Holly Holmes, she wasn't even the best woman out there. You know, UFC, they needed somebody that they could put out there to market female MMA. And so as far as being a pioneer, Ronda Rousey did a good job of that. But, you know, she's kind of on the opposite end of the competitive spectrum in my head, that, you know, she's going to rise to adversity, but you can also break her spirit. So once she saw that, you know, these girls are tough, you know, I'm going to have to do something different to get better. When she tried once and she tried twice and it wasn't happening, she was like, forget it.
I struck it out 3 times.
I don't want no more.
Vince McMahon, so how much?
right.
About that fake wrestling.
Let me get to this money and stop taking these brain injuries.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of work to train for a fight, like, man.
Yeah, but with that loss though, with Conor being the golden boy at the UFC, there's that face. Did the UFC lose too when he lost? Do you think the UFC lost a little bit?
No,
too?
not at all.
No, I think they won. They won because now you have Dustin Poirier, who is, Khabib, Conor, he's like the marketable bad guy of the UFC.
The villain.
Poirier is the marketable good guy. So now, you got this guy, he's winning. Poirier, he's winning. Conor, he needs to fight his way back up. And then you have this mystique of, is Khabib going to come back or not? Mm-hmm. And you have Michael Chandler now in the same weight class. So, man, they're about to rake it in now.
And also, this would be, if they do fight again, that'd be the 3rd fight.
Yep.
So,
mm-hmm.
I think UFC Dana White ain't dumb, man. You know what he's doing.
Yeah.
When this McGregor got knocked out, he was like, yes.
Another fight right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure Dana White was like, this would be perfect, because he probably already had in his head the scenario. If this person wins like this would be the next fight for that. I mean, that's why it's such a beautiful thing, where it's not like Mayweather ducking and dodging people until, so he can basically keep his record at the forefront and fight Pacquiao when he's no longer Pacquiao,
right? Or
fight these up and coming guys where he knows he's going to dominate them, and then they get better. So, Dana White's got a great product, and that's why it's easily the most popular combative sport anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So let's get to you. Now everyone knows, your background. So what we like to start off with our guests is ask them what makes them a diversified gentleman.
Yeah. So I my dad made sure that I never fit in ever from starting early. So I was the kid in middle school who was carrying a viola case and wearing a leather jacket for wrestling, and and is taking the advanced classes in school. So I never quite did go along the same guidelines of where black kids are supposed to go. I grew up in Virginia, so in like the suburbs of DC. So track, football, basketball, those are the big sports in my area at the time. But I don't even know. Well, my brother tried out for the basketball team in middle school, got cut, and then we started wrestling. He started wrestling, so I had to wrestle. So that started us on the kind of martial arts pathway, if you could say. After that, I wrestled, did decent. I always call myself, I was a blue collar wrestler, so I didn't do the camps and stuff. We couldn't afford that growing up, so we just play whatever sports were in season. And during the summertime, we go to the swim pool, go swim, get a couple fights with the friends, and that's what we did. Did well in wrestling, but because I didn't do the camps in the off season, I wasn't heavily recruited. So by the time I got to my senior year in high school, I won the state championship, but again, I wasn't recruited. So I picked up, I was recruited actually by a few Division II schools, but at that time, Division II couldn't give scholarships, or they couldn't guarantee a scholarship. They could give you like an under the table academic scholarship, but I could get that on my own because I had good grades anyway. So I had basically two options as far as like a full ride. So it was either Howard or the Naval Academy. And so
man, those are two very
I know.
yeah.
Like you just said that, like
like it was nothing. Like
you said like you was going to San Antonio Community College.
Yeah, arguably the best HBCU ever. Just military academy.
Yeah, so that's where my choices were. My dad did his best, right? But he didn't really know about college. He didn't know about career fairs. My parents are from the Midwest, product of the Great Migration. So, everything we were fed growing up was find a career field where you'll have a job and you'll just get paid, and not have to worry about getting laid off. So that was always a thing. So it was always, find something in healthcare, because it seems like at the time, healthcare, you're always going to have a job. You're not going to get paid a whole lot. Now that I found that out later, but you'll always have a job. So my plan was to be a physical therapist, to go to school for physical therapy. Naval Academy, they don't have a physical therapy direct route, basically. And so because I didn't really know too much about the difference between Naval Academy and Howard. Again, two great choices, but I chose Howard mainly because they had the physical therapy program there. So I ended up going to Howard. They had the wrestling team at the time. By my sophomore year, they lost the wrestling team by Title IX. So I was really only able to wrestle for 1 year. It taught me a lot, though. High school, I had struggles. I wasn't always the most athletic. I'm still not the most athletic. I have to work really hard. I have asthma. And I was just always a big, chunky kid. Kind of grew into myself, and I had great coaches for wrestling in high school. Then went to Howard and experienced a not so great coach. So by the time we lost the wrestling program at Howard, I was kind of happy that I wasn't wrestling anymore because I didn't have to be under that coach. But after a while, you realize, how much that is a part of you, because, as a wrestler, you don't learn how to play basketball. You don't learn how to play like, if you're into wrestling like how I was, you're not even good at football. So the only thing you really can do is stay in shape and fight. So after we lost wrestling, I finished up through Howard. There's no path for somebody who wants to pursue wrestling out of college, out of high school. So ended up going on to George Washington University and got a doctorate in physical therapy. So the plan at this point was just to go on and be a physical therapist, pay those loans off, and this is just what you're going to do. I ended up meeting my now wife. I think it's my last year, my final year at George Washington University, and at some point in time, I don't remember whether it was for a Christmas present or a birthday present, she ended up buying me like a 3-month membership at this small martial arts school that taught MMA, is what they said. They had a great coach. Coach was really nice, but it wasn't an MMA school. It was a karate school. And the coach, he had trained a little bit of judo. He trained a little bit of jujitsu, and he knew some striking. So that's where we got started. So I started training there, stayed there for about a year or so. And at this time, that's when I just started working as a physical therapist. So first full-time job after school. And man, I could tell from the get-go that like that 9 to 5, it just wasn't for me. There was just more. It's just in my blood that I've got to do more than just 9 to 5. It's just not enough for me, right? So, but I still, I like training martial arts. I like the grappling, but like at the time, especially if you're watching UFC, like it's still kind of crazy, as far as you had a rule set, but it was still mainly a tough man competition at this time. This was like 2000 and like 2008. Yeah, about 2007, 2008. So I would watch like a UFC and I'm like, man, this is crazy. Like who would want to do that? And so trained at this small MMA school for about a year. And then I found Capital MMA. I was looking for just a bigger school, a little bit more reputable as far as, having a good basis in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and found my way down to Capital MMA. Still living in DC at the time. We have a location in Alexandria. So came down there and just immediately fell in love. It kind of got those competitive juices flowing again that I hadn't felt in a long time, because you have the jiu-jitsu now, so I'm feeling at home there. This was still fairly new as far as in the amateur MMA scene in the Virginia area. So came down there, trained for a few months, and I was, decided, I want to take a MMA fight. So we trained up for it. At the time, we had 2 other professional fighters on our team, 1 male, 1 female. And so I trained with them, and I think we ended up getting my first amateur fight after maybe only like 8 months training there. It wasn't even a full year. So got my first fight there, and I loved it. So at this point, I'm thinking, I've got a knack for this. I'm a hard worker naturally. So what I was doing, I would work my job. I would go down to the clinic, and I get off of work at about like 4 or 5 o'clock, whatever time I get off work, and I just go straight to the gym. And I was at the gym until clear past like 10:30 at night. I get home about 11 o'clock, wake up the next day, do it again. And so I decided what I wanted to do was work my way through the, amateur professional scene. At the time, I wasn't really interested in, like making it as like a champion. I was like, well, if I get to the UFC, I get to UFC, that's great. But really, I just want to have a few professional fights so that I can build my own credibility, so I can open my own gym. Like that was my ultimate goal, just to, to have my own gym. Because really the passion for me is the training. The competition, I like winning, but the competition is not the best part. For me, the best part is the training. So I wanted just to work my way up to be able to have my own gym. And then I think it was after my second or third fight, my first student loans package came in from grad
Real
school.
world hit. Reality
boy. So that thing came in the mail. So I just started working. We're in the middle of the recession. So we got that pay cut. We were, I'm a new grad physical therapist. I'm not getting paid a whole bunch anyway. I think I was making, my salary was like 65 a year, but after tax and everything, I'm taking home about 40. And just got married now. We're renting this apartment in DC, so I rent inside. Just bought me this nice new car, and then I get this bill in the mail for, what's like $2,000. Yeah, because I ended up, when I graduated, I had about $200,000 worth of loans. So yeah, so they hit me with that bill upside my head, and I was like, man, ran the numbers, and I was like, man, even if I made it to the UFC at this time. You know, first of all, there's no guarantee for that. And if I fight locally, you know, on the regional scene at the time, you'd be lucky if you got, say, 500 to fight and 500 to win. So that's $1,000, and you maybe will fight 4 times a year. So that's $4,000 a year. And to close the gap, you're out there, you know, trying to find sponsors and doing things like that. So there was no way. It wasn't going to work as far as moving forward, fighting professionally at all at the time. So at that point, you know, I pretty much hung up the MMA gloves. That wasn't going to happen. Cut back on the training. I was still training some, but you know, I was pretty damn depressed because again, this is like another thing that was taken from me. First, it was wrestling in college, and then this is taken from me. This is how it felt. So you know, I was pretty damn depressed about that. So I cut back on my training, and I'm just like, well, if I got to work, I'm just going to work. So I put my nose down. I'm going to work, training, you know, maybe 3 times a week. And then my coach gave me a coaching gig. So I started teaching my first class on like Friday nights. So that's an easy class to give your new coaches, because you only get about 5 people that want to train on a Friday night. People want to go out and party. So that's the smallest class. So I'm teaching a takedown class on Friday nights. And then that's kind of where, you know, I found this passion, really, you know, even more so than fighting, in coaching and taking somebody who has this goal and pouring into them and kind of inspiring them to push through. So I started teaching that Friday class, maybe picked up a couple other classes. And then we were working through there. So I'm just, you know, teaching classes at this location and doing my thing, working physical therapy. At this time, I've moved from, you know, I've worked in outpatient, I've worked in hospitals, I'm working in this nursing home at the time. And man, again, I just couldn't get over it, that, you know, it's just killing me going and working for these people who, you know, don't care about you, really. You know, your supervisor, manager, everybody's about the bottom line. And you go into the healthcare field specifically, you know, to actually help people. You want to get paid, but, you know, you don't have that corporate mentality of dollars and cents. And, you know, every head in the bed is a dollar bill, is a paycheck type deal. So I had a particularly bad day at this nursing home that I was working at. So I came home and I was like, you know what? I'm going to open up a gym. So I quit my job. So go on
just like that. Overnight.
Yeah, just like that. So,
wow.
You know, it was in the back of my head. It was in the back of my head. And I had done a few things to kind of, you know, test my entrepreneurial spirit. You know, at the gym, I would design gis or uniforms. I would design the gis and sell them through the gym, and just see if, you know, people kind of like my designs. And so I'd make some connections here, you know, hook up some seminars, maybe do some private lessons and stuff, and just kind of testing the water and, you know, starting to see, like, you know, I don't have to work for somebody else. You know, obviously I have to pay these bills, but maybe there is a possibility that I could do something else.
What your wife say about this great idea you had?
Yo, my wife has had this struggle with me for how long we've been together? For 14 years now. So I always do too much, man. And so she, you know, she's learned to accept that I do too much, and I've learned to kind of manage my time a little bit better. And I still have the you know, the instances of you know, trying to take on too much, but it's not as bad as it used to be then. So she, you know, she was for it, but, you know, my wife is a business major. So she's looking at the dollars and cents of it, and it's like, well, you know, how many students are you going to need to cover, you know, your loans and cover, you know, the mortgage? And I'm like, man, the way I coach and the way my friends are, you know, we're going to be good to go in 6 months. We're going to be good.
You sound like Conor McGregor. Best coach in the world.
Yeah,
exactly. What the hell are you talking about?
You realize, you know, I've learned over time that, like, you know, especially in the martial arts world, the gym owners and the coaches, it's a passion thing. So we're not really into the organization, the head counting, the dollars and cents. You know, I kind of want to keep the lights on, and I want to be there coaching, but we're awful business people. But she, you know, she supported me. She helped me out with it and developing the business plan and everything. Took a few months, and then what I ended up doing is I ended up just randomly one night I was on the SBA website, Small Business Administration website, and I saw they had this link that said that you could submit your business proposal, and they would shop it out to other small local lenders to get a business loan. So I'm like, all right, let me try that out. So I submitted, and I got a hit back. And so I'm like, all right, well, these people want to give me a business loan, SBA loan. But it's a long process. So I start working on that process. At the same time, I'm teaching jujitsu at Howard. At this time, I'm working at the nursing home, and I'm teaching classes at Howard as an adjunct professor, teaching their jujitsu classes.
Hey, Chad, something about you, man. I got to tell you about it right now. Your demeanor and your calmness, and you talk about things that are really significant, like there's matter. I love it. You know, teaching that at Howard, you know, I'm a professor here. I'm doing this here. Just so calm, man. I love it. I love that confidence, man.
And you know, all this stuff kind of just it snowballed.
Yeah.
I didn't plan any of it. You know, even the class at Howard. You know, I mentioned our main wrestling coach at Howard. Not too fond of him, but the guy who actually recruited me, Paul Cotton. You know, this guy is an amazing guy. I think he's in the board of trustees and stuff at Howard. But I randomly hit him up on Facebook one day and asked him if I could start a jujitsu club at Howard, because for me, you know, I grew up wanting to do martial arts, but we couldn't afford it. So we would watch the Bruce Lee movies and then go outside and beat each other up.
Yeah.
But we couldn't afford, you know, to actually teach the classes. So I always wanted to say, you know, I always had in my head, if I have a skill that I can learn and you know, give to people who can't afford it, I will always want to be able to do that. So I hit up Coach Cotton and asked him if I could open a club at Howard. So this guy hits me back and is like, send me your resume. So I'm like, all right. And so he's like, send him my resume. And then a couple of days later, he's like, oh, well, we need a new judo teacher at Howard. Do you want to take the job? I'm like, oh, what? So next thing I know, like, you know, this was over the summer. By the fall, I'm at Howard teaching. I changed the judo class over to jujitsu. So I'm over there teaching jujitsu classes at Howard while working at the nursing home. Was able to flex that, so I was able to, you know, go in and out, you know, a little bit. And so it just kind of fell in place. So that really helped me out with getting my coaching chops together and being able to, you know, take somebody who knows absolutely nothing about, you know, jujitsu, martial arts, movement, athletics at all, and take them to a point where they, you know, by the end of the semester, the kids who actually came to class were, you know, they were competent in their basic, you know, self-defense and jujitsu. I actually still have a couple of my students who I taught, you know, first couple of semesters at Howard that still train with me. And they've come a long way. So I'm working at Howard. I applied the loan from the SBA, got it all together. So it seemed like all the pieces were coming together. So at this point, you know, I had a little bit of loan money, didn't take out enough, should have taken out more. But I had a little bit of loan money. So now we needed a space. So I start shopping around and trying to find spaces, and, you know, everything was kind of done backwards. I didn't know. Again, it was a passion project. This is something I needed to do. So as I'm looking at, you know, spaces to lease and stuff, I'm starting to realize, you know, my people are looking at, you know, your business history, not just your passion. They're looking at, do you really have enough money to carry this lease for at least 6 months because they're assuming your business is going to fail. So they want to know that you have the money for at least 6 months. And so that's when I ended up coming upon my partner, Paul, who I trained with at the Alexandria Capital MMA. And so he came on with me. That gave us a little bit more, assurance, I guess, business wise. They figured if they couldn't get 6 months worth of lease out of me, they get it out of between the two of us.
They get it somewhere.
So yeah, exactly. So, a little bit more happenstance. I had got rejected from pretty much every site that we applied to lease to open up this gym. And then I had randomly put in an application at this place down where we actually are now, down in Lorton. Just randomly put in an inquiry, and the guy hit me back. And so go down there and meet him. There was an old CrossFit gym that had closed up, and he seemed eager to give it to us, despite the fact that we didn't have a whole lot of cash on hand. We couldn't even afford the whole spot, so they ended up putting up a wall. They gave us half the spot. So that's where we ended up. So we, opened that space up where we currently are in 5.5 years ago, or whatever that was, 2015. Opened that one up day one, maybe had, sat there. We opened up day one and we literally just sat there with the doors open, waiting for somebody to come in. Yo, we had no idea what we were doing, because, we didn't realize, we thought we were marketing on Facebook. So we're posting up, all this stuff on Facebook that we're opening this gym, but we didn't realize that all the people that are liking our stuff and saying they're going to be there are already our friends who are already training with us at, with Capital MMA at the Alexandria location. So that's cool that you will come by and you'll check our gym out, but we need some brand new people that can sign up for memberships. So, we had no idea what we're doing with marketing, but, things started rolling. One member turned into two members turned into 10 members. And we're doing good. At this time, and I still am doing physical therapy. So I'm working the physical therapy job. I'd come straight down after leaving the hospital, drive straight down to the gym, teach classes. On the nights that I'm not there, Paul is there. And we're both just grinding, and we have these plans, running the numbers, figure that if we hit, a certain number of memberships, we will be able to support at least myself being full-time. I work full-time and build it up some more, because now we can add more classes. And then once we get to that point, then we can put Paul on and he can be full-time, or, take more money, whatever, kind of get a payoff. So we were struggling. We're just doing that. And we figure, 6 months turns into a year turns into 3 years, 3 years turns into 5 years. Our lease for the space was only 5 years. So just so happened at, as we were getting up to that 5-year mark, we were at about 4.5 years or so. Our lease is coming up, so we're starting to look at new places to move to. Our numbers are looking good. And so I go to my boss, and I'm let her know, I'm like, look, I'm going to be quitting in 60 days. I'm going to put in my 30-day notice at the end of the month. So I'm going to give you 30 days prior notice, but I don't want you to tell anybody. Just keep this a secret between you and I. But just to let you know, I'm going to be out of here by, next couple of months. And so we're working on that. We are working on signing a new lease for this new space that we're going to move in. And then the coronavirus comes. And shuts everything
First the student
down.
loans punch you in the mouth. Now coronavirus punch you in the mouth.
Yo,
you really are MMA.
Yo, I was literally,
Yeah, and this is Texas or Florida.
Yeah.
Like Virginia was the first to put the clamps down.
We got shut down. We got shut down hard. And so, we tried to do everything that we could do to try to, accommodate our members, because, we didn't want to. We're running a business, but like I said, this is like a passion. So like, right. I don't look at my members as numbers. Like your family, like you're literally family. Like my students, they come to my house, we hang out, we go out to dinner, all these things. Like their kids are my kids. If I've taken people's kids, to the hospital or to urgent care if they've gotten hurt. Like I do that. So I'm not thinking about numbers. So when COVID comes up, we're just one at a time. People are like, oh, well, we got to cancel our membership because we can't train. Next thing you know, you look up and we lost 60% of our income. And you know, we weren't balling out anyway to start off with, but we were just starting to get to that threshold where I could quit my day job and I could be here full time, which would make it easier on the family. You know, I'm not in this to get rich. I'm not really motivated by money. Just want to kind of be happy with what I'm doing, and have an impact on people's lives, what I'm really looking for.
I'm going to ask you that with your position, what's your measure of success? Is it a certain amount of students that are trained and competent? Is it, what is that? What do you see that?
Well, you know, as a coach, everybody's different, right? So I could measure my success against one particular student, and my success against another particular student will be completely different. Gym wise, you know, it's still a work in process for you know, for it to be my main thing. You know, I've been struggling with this for, you know, 5 years now. Before that, it was fighting. So, you know, I have never, since the day that my wife and I have started dating, I have never, you know, gone to work and came home and just was home. You know, it's always it's always, you know, come home for a pit stop and then out to do something else. So I'm still, you know, working towards being able to, you know, to find my thing, like build my thing up. This is, you know, where I can kind of control my destiny, and I'm happy going to work, and it's not really work. This is what I want to do. And then when I'm done with it, come home, and you know, spend time with the kids, spend time with the wife and family. So that's clearly, you know, a goal. You know, but financially, if I can, you know, if as long as I'm carrying my weight in this household, then I'm cool. You know, I like to have nice things, but I don't have to have nice things.
Right.
It's not a big deal to me as long as we're in a nice house. I have a reliable car. I have, you know, I do like to have the latest iPhone and the latest Apple Watch. That's
right.
one thing. But you know, clothing wise, you know, I wear t-shirts and slacks, you know, t-shirts and jeans if I'm not in workout clothes, or if I'm not in a gi, or if I'm not in scrubs at work. So all of that is not a big deal to me. You know, the other measure for me is, you know, I I like having that impact on someone's life. You know, having that chubby kid come into class. I have two of them right now. The chubby kids that come into class and they, you know, can't put one foot in front of the other, and they have no confidence, and they can't even make it through class the first time because they're heaving and the guy keep taking water breaks, and then they look up 2 weeks later and they can actually make it through class, but they're falling on their face all the time. And then they look up a month later, they're not falling on their face, but they're still, you know, clumsy. And you know, at the end of the day, or you know, a few years later, you know, they're actually, you know, athletic. Or if they're not athletic, you know, they have some confidence and they know that they can overcome some odds and do something. So that, you know, that's a big drive. That's, you know, that's the most rewarding part of it. So, you know, I would like to one day, you know, I've coached some fighters, a number of fighters, some professional, some of them done very well. Obviously, not too many right now with COVID going on regionally. There's not too many competitions going on. But you know, even if I've never have a, you know, a world champion, a regional champion, a tournament champion, even if I never have one, if I have, you know, some kids or some adults that, you know, grow in themselves and realize that, you know, there are some obstacles they can overcome here, and find something out of what I can give them or what martial arts can give them, then I'm good. Like that's all I really need.
Go ahead, Reese.
That term, jujitsu saves lives. I mean, that's really a fact. You know, I went through some dark times, and my old supervisor, some advice she gave, it was just weird. It was just I wasn't expecting it from her. She was like, "Yo, you gotta continue to do what you've always done, right?" And she was like, "No, do you even still go to jujitsu?" And I was like, "No, I've been in like 6 months." You know what I'm saying? So I just asked my boss. I was like, they had you know, because I got 4 kids, so jujitsu, right after work, kind of like you going to work and then changing and then going there, and being home like 8 o'clock, that didn't really work for me. So if I can go to lunch, so could I basically take 2-hour lunches think twice a week. And she was like, yeah, that's fine. That'll be your PT. I was like, okay, cool. And there was some days where it was just like, I just had to just talk myself into going and make myself go. But every time I went, when I was done, I was always so happy I went. You know what I'm saying? And no matter what I was going through during that hour class, I'm only thinking about, you know, that technical, basically the example, you know, then applying it with the practice, and then, you know, the rolling, right? And then, you know, it just releases whatever, like mentally, mental health, it plays a major role in mental health. And then, you know, when you leave, you just feel different. And then, you know, the darkness will creep back in. But it was just crazy just during that time, just during that block. I've never like, you know, was sitting in the corner while the professor was, you know, showing the next move, just daydreaming like, damn, my life sucks, right? I'm always focused at the task at hand. You know what I'm saying? When I was rolling, I was focused at the task at hand. And, you know, when I was done, you know, I always feel exhausted. My elbow may hurt, but I'm like, I'm happy I came. Like, it was a great feeling. It was a great feeling. So jiu-jitsu is, I don't think it gets talked enough. I think everyone who experienced it gets it, but those who haven't, they don't know what they're missing out on. So
yeah, a saying my coach used to say is you never regret a day of training. You know, you might not want to be there, but you never regret after you leave.
Yep.
So Chad, I got a question for you. So obviously this is your passion, right? This is what you love to do. And you made a comment earlier about not being able to really handle the business side, right? Like, you don't look at individuals as numbers. And obviously it is a business that you own. So are there any ideologies or ways that you've thought about looking at the business as a business, or is it like, I don't even want to think about it like that?
Yeah. Luckily, I have a very good community. You know, getting started, leading up to as we went through the loan application process and everything. You know, I have an uncle who made it pretty big back in the day. He used to invent equipment, like manufacturing equipment, and sell it to big companies. So he had, you know, he gave me a lot of advice as far as, you know, his ups and his downs. So that kind of set me on the way. And then, of course, like I said, my wife, you know, she's in business and marketing, so she's always been there to help out. You know, one of my closest friends through jiu-jitsu is a very successful businessman. So he always, you know, gives us advice. My coach, you know, he's been through ups and downs. So overall, it's been it's been a community struggle in keeping the you know, the business side of things together. And you know, at the end of the day, it is simple math, right? So it's not that I can't sit down and add up numbers and figure out, you know, how much we need to go in and go out. It's just the fact of, like, you actually need to sit down and do it, right? And so sometimes you need that, you know, you need that other business owner to tell you, like, hey, you know, look at this for marketing versus this. Or, you know, sometimes my biggest thing is people don't see people don't approach small businesses the same as they approach corporations, right? So if you go to, you know, if you go to Walmart and you're like, all right, you see the pack of t-shirts cost, you know, $5.99 or however much it costs, you go to the register and you pay, and you're out the door and you're good to go. You come to a small business, you know, jiu-jitsu gym, and you say, all right, well, how much does a membership cost? This is how much it costs. Oh, well, you know, can I get a discount? Or what if I only train this many times a week? then can we come down there, you know, and I'm gonna need a gi. Yeah. You always want to bargain with the small business owner, but you never want to bargain with the corporation. And for me, I'm a sucker for that, right? Because, like I said, I'm not driven by money. So for the first year or two, I was falling for it. Everybody was on a discounted membership. Everybody, you know, I'm selling the gis, I'm taking, 10% off here, $10 off there. And then you go back and you look at how much you're giving away and you're like, damn, that's one thing. But then what hurts even more is when you give this stuff away to people and then when they're done using you up, they're just gone. So that's the other thing. So that's the thing, that's what gets me the most, that I kind of have to keep in some sort of a business mentality is of not taking it personal, as far as, some people just aren't going to stick around. Some people just don't want your services. And in those instances, I have to see people as numbers. But when you're with us and you're training with us and you're like in the family, then you are family. And that's why it's even hard for me to, like, when we're talking about money with students, like just the other day, we had a student who a bill hit her at the time she wasn't expecting it, right? And so she hits me up and she's surprised that the bill hit her at a certain time. And her kid trains with us, and her kid is the cutest thing, and man, she works her butt off. So I'm like, you know what, it's not a big deal. I'll take the bill off. I'll refund you that money, and when you can pay me, you just have to pay me this month. At the end of the month, you can pay me. We'll get the money back then. So I'm always willing to do things like that for people who actually want to be here, which probably gets us in trouble sometimes. Probably still lose money, but I'm okay with that. So I guess to answer your question, I'm too soft to be a business person. Yeah. So it's good to have other people who will keep me in line to make sure that we're not giving away the kitchen sink and can actually keep the lights on.
One thing about being a small business owner that I love when I hear stories like that from small business owners like yourself, when you said the woman that had the bill issue and you were able to kind of help her out, like on the inverse side of that, you can't go to Walmart and bring that. You know what I mean? If a big or you can't buy something, it's like Walmart's gonna be like, hey, you ain't got the money, get your ass out the store. So it's that sense of community and generosity that business owners like you, people love. You know what I mean? Like the fact that she could still take her daughter or son, daughter, to your gym. You know what I mean? Like I'm pretty sure it, like, to you it's like, yo, I'm just helping you out, but who knows like how that made her little daughter feel, the mother feel, like that could have been their world. Like, yeah, you still get to go to the gym, you still get to train. You know what I mean? Like, that's amazing.
At my old gym in Florida, I remember, at the end of the day, you lined up by belt, and the gym owner was like, kind of saying, hey, good class, these are the next tournaments, giving us the weekly update. And he said, and those of you that are late, like, work with me, like, I need you guys to catch up, blah, blah, blah. And I was on auto pay, and I was thinking to myself, wait, we had a voice to pay. Wait, hold on. There's people in here that hasn't paid. Like that's an option. Like, you know what I'm saying? He's like a third. I don't know if you know Ronaldo Tavares.
Yeah.
He trained him. Yeah, so he's a third degree black belt under him. So he's a dangerous dude, right? And he was like, but he's coming like, guys, can you please just meet me halfway? Can you help me out? And I'm thinking to myself, like, man, wait, huh?
Yeah.
Why aren't y'all paying for one? What are y'all doing here? It was crazy enough to, like, owe this guy money. But he's a big teddy bear. It seems like I haven't met too many black belts that are kind of like, just douchebags. You know what I mean? For the most part, they're very humble. I've met a few, a couple maybe, but for the most part, you guys are like all humble guys, just super nice.
Calm
and I can just see somebody in a parking lot, the Target parking lot, cutting y'all off and give you the finger, and them just not even knowing what potential danger.
They're playing with a viper, don't even know it.
You have no idea.
I have no idea how dangerous this man is.
And I don't know if people know jiu-jitsu, but like someone my size, with a black belt, especially like, when you start getting into the degrees, them taking your shoulder, someone that's similar size, and then it's pinning you down, and you like, I'm not moving until they want me to move. You know what I mean? I just don't know people, they don't understand, like, the skill and the technique and basically almost like the power you guys hold of, like, their lives. And, got their lives in their hands.
That's what's funny. You think about jiu-jitsu, man. Yeah. When people tap, they're basically saying, listen, people with real world scenario, I would have died. You got me. You know what I mean? That's what a tap is. You got me. I died,
Yeah. Well, I think when it comes, I think what it comes down to is like, by the time, and hopefully for most people, it happens before they get to black belt, right? For what I see is that usually for most people, it happens by the time they're at least a purple belt. So at least 5 years in. But you learn that, number one is as good as you think that you are, there's somebody out there who's better than you. And then just to get to the level that you're at, like, you just got to remember, like, how much crow you ate to get to this point, and even today, I spar with my students, and it is nothing on any random given day that a blue belt makes me tap, a blue belt that I promoted to blue belt, makes me tap. But it's all a learning experience. So you just realize it's just, everything is not that important, right? So like, the someone cutting you off in Walmart, parking lot, ain't that important. Like, we both gonna be stuck at this light in a minute anyway. But if you really want a problem, then you can get out your car and you can come over here and I'll give you a problem. So, it was actually not too long ago, this dude tried to pick a fight with me in Walmart. Like, nobody has tried to pick a fight with me since really, I'd say, sophomore year in high school. I'm not the smallest person, and I was a pretty big kid, and I had an older brother. So people didn't really try to pick fights with me. This is really like 4 weeks ago, when the Proud Boys came to DC, and this dude tried to pick a fight with me in Walmart over a spot in line that he was clearly wrong. And it gets to the point where the guy is like really wanting to instigate, thinking that I'm gonna take it the next level. And I'm like, bro, you're one person ahead of me in line. I'm not gonna go to jail over how soon I get to purchase this loaf of bread that I came in here to pick up for my wife. You're not that important to me. And then the best part about it is he does all of this and he can't even check out because this dummy brought cash to a lane that only takes credit cards. right.
Jokes on you, player.
Right. But it's the mentality that, like, stuff is just not that serious. Like, there are bigger things out there, and you got to be able to fight through some of this adversity. You get in tough rolls and you get smashed, and somebody drops a forearm across your jaw, and it hurts for 10, 15, 30 seconds, but we still got 5 minutes left in this round. So I'm gonna sit here for a little bit, and when you move that, I'm gonna come around and you can pay for it later. It's all right. So just nothing to let things slide, and that ego is nothing. That's not your best friend. That's your worst enemy.
Right.
I think another, while you're talking, I think what you said like a blue belt humbles you and you're a black belt. I think with all the years of training, you learn not to underestimate people. And I think you take that into a real world event.
Oh yeah.
They have that nerdy, 40-something-year-old balding guy with glasses and a dad bod, but you don't know if he's a black, but you know what I'm saying? You don't know how dangerous he is, even if he has a weapon on him, but even if he doesn't, you don't know what he knows, right? And like you said, when you step in the cage, it only takes the right hit in a certain spot, anyone's going to sleep. You know what I'm saying? No matter how strong your chin is. So yeah, I think you probably, when you were talking, I'm like, man, you guys probably walk around with that too. Just like, you just never know.
Yeah, you never know.
You're going to defend yourself. That's a different story. But it's like, you want to fight? No, you want to fight? You know what I mean?
Right.
It's foolishness, man. It's foolishness.
Like, what's the point?
Yeah. I live in DC, so I tell my students this story from time to time when I was at Howard. This is like the epitome of why I don't sweat this little stuff. I'm at Howard, and there's this guy, you know, because Howard's in the middle of the city, so you got these pretty girls from out of town, and you got all these, you know, locals, you know, DC natives that want to get at these girls, but most of the time the girls don't want it. So there was a Sunday because I'm walking to church, and this girl, she's getting, you know, harassed by this guy, and we sitting, you know, at the crosswalk ready to go across the street. So like I'm sitting here looking at him and looking at her, and she's looking at me, and I'm like, I don't really know you, but let me step up and try to say something. So I say something to this guy, you know, something corny, you know, she don't want to talk to you, whatever. This guy just looks at me, the calmest face ever, and he says, "Church boy, I will stab you in the fucking head." And I said, "You know what?
Oh, he didn't.
All right then.
Like,
All right.
hey, good luck, lady.
Hey,
whatever your name is, good luck.
Hey, we got Jitsu classes on Friday.
That dress me to Kevlar. I gotta go.
Yeah. So man, that was how many years ago? That was 12 or so years ago. And I remember like it was yesterday. And so that's my approach to anything like in the streets. Like, I don't know what this guy has. So if I can stay out of altercation, good on me. Like I win if I get to walk away.
People are unstable, man. Some people are just unstable. I mean, not only do you not know what these people know technically, you don't know how stable they are mentally.
Don't know.
Yeah.
That's scary. Because you might be going in, you might be going in to fight, and they're like, I don't fight, I kill. Like, that's two different levels, right? That's a different level of mental stability. So it's scary out there. That's very true.
Do you think kind of and maybe you're seeing it, the African American communities kind of missing out on, you know, jiu-jitsu, or I'm pretty sure over the years you've seen more and more minorities get into it, but it's definitely not basketball or football.
It's, you know, it's so many things. We are, you know, our community misses out on a lot of things for a number of reasons. You know, like I said before, you know, the martial arts thing, a lot of the times it's an exposure and financial thing. Like you don't see too many martial arts gyms in the hood, you know, and I live in Southeast, and one of our plans before we opened up the gym in Lorton was to put our gym in Southeast. But when you run the numbers, like, how can I keep the doors open here? I got this high rent. The landlord's not gonna forego my rent because I'm trying to do charity work. So I've got to find a way to open up doors. So, you know, it's not, you don't get the exposure. A lot of times, you know, the families can't afford that extra expense. And then I know when I was growing up, especially in wrestling, like, you know, Black kids didn't wrestle because why would you want to touch a guy? Like, why would you want to lay on top of a guy? Oh, you gay or something?
Yep.
And so that's always a thing. So it's that you know, that bravado, that, you know, that uninformed thinking, scared at the end of the day is really just scared to try out something new. So for all these reasons, you miss out on it. So you know, it's unfortunate. I try to do my best to bring some exposure to the community, which is why I, you know, was excited to teach classes at Howard. And whenever I can, you know, if I ever run into, you know, a student, Black, white, or whatever, if they can't afford it, but they really want to be here, we'll figure out a way for you to be here. So I would never want that financial reason to be the reason why somebody can't train, because, you know, this stuff can change your life.
Yeah, I love it because, you know, not only, like I said, with the mental health and all that aspect, but it's very practical. I mean, it's like, I don't know if this is how my mind works, but a lot of times when I walk into a room, I like size people up, like in the worst case, you know, just thinking like, all right, I would need this much space. I'll need to hit him real quick, just phase him, and then, you know, go for his legs, get side control. You know what I mean? That's literally, I could be in a staff meeting, just literally like, how would I, not even like, you know, hurt this person, but how would I get out of an altercation, or man, this person would really rip me into shreds. How would I protect myself? All right, cool. I would have to make sure this person doesn't take my back. You know what I mean? This and that. But I think this is very practical, and it's always, man, even as a wrestler, you get someone to the ground, 99% of people have no idea what to do when they're on the ground. You have your power shifts, like you're not throwing punches, on your back, on your side. So it's just very practical, and especially for girls, right? I think they just need to, have that sense of self-confidence and that skill.
Yeah.
If something goes down.
Yeah, 100%. Like I have 2 girls myself. I have 3 kids, 1 boy, 2 girls, and it's a mandatory. You don't have to be a black belt. Like, honestly, because I can teach them at home, they really don't even have to have a belt at all. But you will learn how to defend yourself, and it's a matter of confidence and self-worth also. Somebody's not just going to come up to you and say, they're not going to tell you who you are. They're not going to walk up to you and say that you're ugly and that you're not. They're not going to put you down because you're overweight. And these are like those extra lessons that jiu-jitsu and martial arts build into you just by working hard and overcoming that adversity and building that confidence. So you're going to be able to protect yourself. And if this fool wants to continue to act up, at the end of the day, they're not going to get to your head and they're not going to get to your body. And if they do, then you got your big brother. It's going to come down. It's going to come down to.
If all those fails, stab him in the face.
Bro.
In the head.
Right now, church boy, you don't no problems. What did Ray Friday when Devo knocked him out? Like, no, I don't. Stay out of this.
Yeah, it was like, nope.
You want some of this, old man? No, I don't.
It's crazy.
All right. So what we like to do at the end of each show, we just go around and give something, tangible to give the folks that are listening. Basically, either something you learned from martial arts, or why they should get into martial arts, or just any lesson you learned in life and how they can apply it.
Yeah. For me, the big thing that comes back time and time for me is, like I said, I was raised by, my parents who they were taught, just to make it by, just to make your way. You didn't have an opportunity to chase your dreams. But I learned that, number one, how important it is to chase your dreams. And number two, it's never too late to do it. And it's not going to be easy, but that struggle is very important. So you figure out what you want to do, not what you have to do, and you go after it and you put in the work to do it. And it'll work out eventually if you want it to work out. You got to stick with it.
Awesome. What about you guys?
I would say that if you're in anything physical, fighting, weightlifting, you're always trying to get better, right? Whether it's your physique in the gym or your technique with jiu-jitsu or karate, whatever you're doing, use that to translate it to your actual life outside of that activity, right? So if you go hard in the gym, you go hard on the mat, in the ring, use that same drive in life. You don't stay stagnant in the gym, in the ring, on the mat. So use that in the same sense when you're traversing through life. Never settle. Just always try to do better. And you'll look back and appreciate the journey.
Yeah, something I got just hearing Chad talk, something he did a lot, which I admire, is be decisive, take some risk. You're not going to have it all figured out all the time. So something you want to do, some passion you have, take that risk, calculated risk, make a decision, and then go ahead and try it out. Because you're going to regret more from not doing something than from trying it and failing a little bit and trying it again. So the chances you never take are automatically going to be zero. So take a chance, take a risk, and then make a decision, do something.
And I just highly recommend young kids get into not MMA, but martial arts, but specifically jiu-jitsu. It's indoors, so the climate, there's no climate factors. No matter how big or small, short or tall, how much you weigh, how fast you are, you can succeed. You can get good at it. You know, there's no limitation. Not like basketball. If you only got a certain, only so far you can go. In football, if you don't run so fast, only so far you can go. In jiu-jitsu, it's endless, and it's practical. I mean, I think especially like I said, for girls, having that self-confidence to, you know, have that to understand they can get out of situations they don't want to be in. I really think kids are missing out because parents are putting them more in those traditional extracurricular activities, and they need to be looking into jiu-jitsu specifically. So, all right. Well, Chad, man, we really appreciate you. This was an amazing episode. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah. And for everyone else, thanks for watching. Make sure you like this episode and subscribe to our channel. All right, we're out.